So you might already know which element your zodiac sign belongs to. However, to get a fuller picture and better understanding of each zodiac sign, it's also important to understand which modality and which duality it belongs to. Because if you think about it, even though we have different zodiac signs in the same element, they still express themselves differently. And here are where the modalities and the dualities come into play, giving us a better understanding on how they are different, even though they share the same element. And this goes the other way around as well. You can look at zodiac signs who have the same modalities but are in different elements, or zodiac signs that are in the same duality but in different elements and modalities. Basically what I'm trying to say is that every zodiac sign has its own characteristics, and in this video I want to dive into those different parts that make up the main part of a zodiac sign, which are the elements, the modalities, and the dualities. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chada. This is the second introduction video to the zodiac sign series, and I thought it was really important to make this video as well because it will give you a better understanding when I'm diving into each zodiac signs. So basically when I'm explaining the zodiac signs, I'm going to use those terminology like modalities, elements, dualities, and I thought it would be important or helpful to make a video to help you understand what this is about. So when you watch the actual zodiac sign series, it's gonna be easier for you to understand that. So if you haven't watched the first introduction video to the zodiac sign series, I suggest you do. I'm gonna link it up above and down below. It will give you a better understanding on how to use this series so that you get the best or the most out of it. If you want to expand your knowledge a little more, I'm also going to link the introduction video to the Planet series and to the astrology in the description box down below. It's like additional information to give you a fuller picture, so you can watch those as well if you want. Most people are aware which element their zodiac sign belongs to. However, there are more ways into categorizing the zodiac signs. Because if you think about it, even though we have 3 zodiac signs per element, they still express themselves differently. For example, with the fire element, we have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And even though they are all fires, they are still different from one another. And this is where the modalities and the dualities come into play, which give us different layers of each zodiac sign. And this is what we are going to look at in this video. Okay, so first we're going to look at the different categories, and then we're going to look at the different characteristics for each category. It might sound very complicated at this point, but I promise you it's actually quite simple. So let's start with the categories. To understand that properly, it basically means that if we look at the 12 zodiac signs, we can categorize them into 3 different categories basically. Those categories are the elements, the modalities, and the dualities. And each of that category has a subcategory or like a sub-characteristics that we can attribute each zodiac sign to. Let's start with the elements. The elements is probably the category that most people know about. So we have fire, earth, wind, and water. And there are always 3 zodiac signs assigned per element. So with fire, we have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. With earth, we have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. With wind, we have Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And with water, we have Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So if we look at each element, we notice that all zodiac signs attributed to that element do have similar characteristics. For example, be it Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, they're usually very optimistic, very initiative, always very high energy. With the zodiac signs that are attributed to the earth element, which are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, they are usually the hard-working one. They are known to be very reliable and very much rooted in the physical world. So anything that can be touched on, they're very physical elements and express themselves in a very physical manner. And they are also known to be very practical. Next we have the air element, which will be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. The wind element is attributed to the mind, to the logical thinking. They're very analytical, they can be very philosophical or very justice driven, but it all comes from that like logical or mental aspect where it's like, okay, we're going to look at this from a very objective point of view. Lastly, we have the water element, which will be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. To the water element, anything related to intuition and emotion is attributed to it. So those are the zodiac signs that are known to be very intuitive, knowing what is going on, even when people don't tell them, they just have this feeling. So this is the first category that the zodiac signs gets divided into, and the one that you might probably already know about. However, if you think about it, even though we have 3 zodiac signs per element, they are still very different. For example, an Aries, a Sagittarius, and a Leo, even though they are all fire and are similar in the sense they're very optimistic, have a lot of energy, they are still different. And the next category that kind of highlights that difference is the modalities. And there are 3 different modalities. The first one is cardinal, the second one is fixed, and the third one is mutable. The way I look at it is that the modalities express how they do things, while the elements express a little more what are these zodiac signs like. Since there are 3 different types of modalities, it means that we have 4 signs per modality. For the cardinal energy, it will be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. The cardinal energy is the initiative energy. Those are the zodiac signs that like to start something. These are the zodiac signs that basically initiate something new. They might get an idea and start to act on that idea. And it's not just in terms of project, but this can also be in terms of passions. For example, they get an inspiration, oh, I really want to try out painting. And they have this initial burst of energy that they go for it straight away. So they're like, oh my God, I want to do this. And they start Googling about it and sign up for the lessons right away. So it's very, very much this initiative energy of being inspired and taking action. However, even though they are like super excited and start things right away, they might have a harder time on following through because their strength really lies in that initial burst of energy to get things going, but not necessarily in following through to the end. Next, we have the fixed modality. This will be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. These are the zodiac signs that are known to be very persistent and have a lot of endurance. So even though it might be harder for them to start things, once they get going, they're like the ones who follow through no matter what. On the other side, because they have a fixed energy, which can also lead to stubbornness, they on one side might have a hard time to start things because they're like, it takes a lot for them to get going. On the other side, they also have a hard time to adjust when something doesn't go according to plan anymore. But if you want to see a project through the end, those are the zodiac signs that are usually the ones sticking to it. Lastly, we have the mutable energy, which are the zodiac sign Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. The mutable energy is all about adaptability and flexibility, being able to adjust where needed. If we think of it in terms of a project and there is an unexpected challenge coming up, those are the signs that can usually best adapt to the situation and find a different approach. They're also the signs that can best adapt to any change that might happen. Not just in terms of plans, but if something doesn't work out, they're like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna go to the next thing, or I can achieve the same goal in that way. They're like not very much phased by life's unexpected events. So if you need a problem solver, those are usually the zodiac signs to turn to. On the other side, because they are so adaptable, their challenge lies in being easily distracted because they jump from one thing to another. It's also hard for them to stay with one thing because they're like doing this and the next moment they're doing that, and it's this very fluid energy. So those are the signs that you kind of have to remind to stay focused and do what they need to do, if we think of it in terms, I don't know, schoolwork or something like that. So basically these are the 3 modalities. And here again you can see that even though we have different zodiac signs in the same modalities, they still express themselves differently, just like with the elements. For example, with the fixed energy, we have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. You might have noticed that they are all in different elements. And even though they all have that stubbornness in their characteristics, they still express it differently. Lastly, we have the polarities. The polarities are actually quite simple and straightforward. There are like 2 polarities. One is the positive polarity and one is the negative polarity. And it's important to be aware it's not about good or bad, but it's about opposites, outward or inward, or you can think of it in terms of yin and yang, which basically means that the zodiac signs are attributed to either the yang energy or the yin energy. And the way we categorize them is actually very, very simple. All the fire and wind element are in the yang positive duality, and all the earth and water zodiac signs are in the yin negative energy. So the positive signs tend to be more self-expressive and more extroverted. They're usually the one that socialize easier and do not necessarily feel drained by it. It's also about how do they express the energy. For example, if you think of a Gemini who has to think things through, they need to express it outward in order to process that, then verbally express whatever they're trying to process. The negative zodiac signs on the other side are way more introverted. Also socially, I have found they're the one that don't necessarily need that big party vibe. So since they have that inward energy, they might need some extra time to process things. If something happens, they first need to go inward, while the positive energy need to go outward with whatever is bothering them. Another way they often get described is that the negative signs are the one that are more receiving, while the positive signs are the one more giving. So to wrap things up, there are a few more things that I want to say in order for you to really get the essence of this video. First of all, by now it should be clear that every zodiac sign is absolutely unique, even though it might share certain characteristics with another zodiac sign. So there is no second zodiac sign with the exact same composition. The goal was to give you an understanding of the different parts, because when we are diving into the zodiac signs, I'm going to mention those words, and I thought it was really important that you have already heard about it and know what they are. So I don't want you to worry too much about this in the sense that you need to remember everything. If you have understood that there are 4 different elements, 3 different modalities and two polarities, this is basically what I want you to get from this video. The second thing that I want to mention, especially if you haven't watched the first introduction video to the zodiac sign series, is that we have all 12 zodiac signs inside of us. Don't just listen to one zodiac sign, to your sun zodiac sign, but listen to all of them. And I want you to reflect, where do I show up like that sign? Like, where in my life do I display that characteristic? As for this video, this is basically it. If you have any questions, please do let me know. We can dive deeper into each topic, like just the modalities, just the elements. There's lots more to discover, but I hope I was able to give you a proper overview to better understand how a zodiac sign is made of, and so that when you watch the zodiac sign series, it's gonna be easier for you to understand them. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next one.